Here we have a very simplified model of a folding carton plant. Jobs come in over here. They go through a queue into job planning, then another queue into computer to plate, another queue into an offset printer. There's a pressman and offset press available. Another queue and then into die cutting. There's a die cutting machine and an operator, and we collect the jobs out there. If I run it very slowly, you'll get the idea, and hopefully we can see the little red dots going through indicating the jobs, joining the queues, and you can see the clock going around here as the day progresses. Jobs are coming in roughly every 2 hours or so. This is too slow to be any practical use though, so let me stop it and we'll run it again at high speed and go through 4 weeks work in one go. So I'll speed up the jobs here and we'll run and we'll see what results we get. So in 4 weeks, we've gone through the 4 weeks now, we can see 118 jobs came in and 63 jobs came out. The bulk of the rest have been queued up in die cutting, and if we look at the queues down the bottom here, we can see the die cutting queue has been building up gradually, and in fact is 2,921 minutes based on the assumptions that we have in here at the moment. That's clearly unacceptable, so let's see if we can improve that by adding resource to the die cutter. We have 2 die cutters available actually, but only one currently being used, so let me replicate this and make it 2 activities. Say OK. But before we do that, let's just look at the profit and loss here. This thing generates an income statement, and we can see that we've got costs and revenues like this with a net profit of a little over $500,000 based on the current assumptions, but presumably we've got some unhappy customers because of the time the jobs are spending in the system. I'll reset and rerun it again now. Now we've got 2 die cutters on the job, and we'll see how many jobs come out. 110 jobs come out here. The queue for die cutting looks like it goes up and down as the jobs come in at their random intervals, and the queuing time is down to 112 minutes. So if we look at the income statement here, now our profit has pretty much doubled to about $1 million or so based on the assumptions we've got built into the model. Assuming a certain mix of jobs coming in, we've set a distribution here of the types of jobs that come in, and these are all varying run lengths between 2,500, 5% of the jobs there, 50% of the jobs are around 20,000, and 10% of the jobs are around 50,000, which is a happy situation and probably consistent with the way a lot of folding carton jobs were in the market until fairly recently. But what we're seeing now, of course, is that run lengths are getting shorter. So if we put in another distribution now, and here we've got jobs as short as 500, 10% of the jobs, and only 10% of the jobs are up at 20,000, 10% at 15,000, and so on. So this is more like a mix of increasingly short-run jobs that the industry sees today. Let's see what that does for our profitability. If you remember, we were at about $1 million in profit on the month's work that was assumed in that last simulation. We'll reset now and run again. And here we see that now we've got 112 jobs come out of the 118 that came in. We don't have any significant queuing problems, but our profitability has dropped way down. The number of jobs going through, of course, has been still relatively high, but the jobs are each worth a lot less. So we're down to 366,000. If we take out one of the die cutters, though, we'll take this down to a single die cutter, and we'll introduce a digital workflow here. The job planner here can decide whether to route jobs to the analog or the digital routing. So here we've got the choice either to send them to the CTP or to queue for digital print. At the moment, they're all going to the digital print, but let's make this 6,000 as the cutoff for changing over, and that means we're going to have 5,999 going to digital. So the shorter run jobs are now going to go digital, and the longer runs will go through the analog process. Let's see what happens here. So we'll reset and we'll run again, and the jobs are going to come through. Now we have 50 jobs have gone through the analog process, and 62, the short run jobs, have gone through digital. If we look at the income statement, if you remember, we had a significantly lower profitability there before when we put all the jobs through digital, and that's because of the setup time, particularly on the die cutter. We've got an hour built into there, whereas the analog on the digital printer and the digital cutting and scoring machine are both much shorter. So here we've improved our profitability by investing, instead of a second die cutter, investing in digital in order to deal with today's reality of short run jobs.